Normally, we would go together as a family to pick out the tree. But with Dan working and Toby gone, it doesn't feel the same. Mama picked up and went to the shop for a few hours to avoid the issue. There's a dress she has to finish by Monday, and Thelma refused to go out in the cold. I asked Dr. Max if he would just take Grace and George. I would just as soon stay home and get some writing done once I search out the boxes of ornaments and try to pretend that this hole in our family feels normal. I feel for Dr. Max having to find the perfect tree with those two. But if anyone can do it, he can. Honestly, I don't know sometimes how Mama attracted a man who was so consistently happy and patient with everyone. I love her dearly, but she's not always easy, and she's no better with him than with anyone else. Aunt Claire gets new tinsel every year, Thelma says, opening a box and removing last year's tinsel, which was painstakingly flattened and wrapped in tissue to be reused. She has more money than we do, I point out, and she's used to having things new. I'm still surprised Mama ever signed on to having a Christmas tree, but I'm not complaining. I love coming down in the early mornings and seeing the light glinting silver off the glass balls, and how the house fills up with its scent. Most of the decorations came from a store that was going out of business a few years ago. When I came home with 3 carry-all bags filled with glass ornaments, Mama looked at me like I'd lost my mind. I'd like to get used to having new things. Thelma runs her fingers through the tinsel, combing it straight. My tap shoes are tragic. Your tap shoes aren't even a year old. They're tight in the toes, she grumbles, strewing the tinsel on the side table. Oh, look, the angel got squashed. Oh, no. Thelma made that angel as a school art project the year we moved to Philadelphia. We didn't have a tree then, but we put it on the mantel, and she's had pride of place at the top of the tree for the last 5 years. Can you fix her? Thelma gazes critically at the angel, whose head is tilting sharply sideways. One wing has snapped off entirely. I could probably make a better one. Do that for next year, I suggest. They'll be home in less than an hour, and you know Grace will want to start decorating immediately. She makes a face, but heads for the kitchen. Is the glue in the cupboard or the drawer? On the shelf over the sink. I move the boxes to the sofa and shove the radio table over so there's space to put the tree in the corner by the stairs. No sooner have I finished than the distinctive sound of Dr. Max's Model T echoes down the narrow street. If there was any doubt, it is dispelled by an explosive backfire. They're here! When Pearl calls, I chuck the angel down on the kitchen table. She's not mendable anyway, and hurry to the living room, where Pop and George are wrestling a spreading Douglas fir through the front door. The tree is wider than the door, and there is laughter and some mild swearing before it makes it through. Because everyone is cold and a little damp, Pearl directs them to the kitchen, where she's put on water for hot chocolate. I remain in the front room, organizing the boxes of ornaments and spreading out the tinsel. Even if it's kinked from being used, it's still pretty. I just like to complain in the hopes of getting something better. And I'll make sure to be the one to put it on the tree so I can hide the worst bits at the bottom and toward the back. Grace darts back into the room, a cookie in one hand. Isn't it beautiful? It is. You did a good job. She grins, displaying the gap in her front teeth. So don't you want to give me Flora now? I stare down at her. No. I swear if she doesn't stop harping about that doll, I'm going to hit her with it. If it's not Toby, it's the doll, and she's not going to get either one. Uncle Sam won't let Toby loose, and I'm not going to give up Flora, no matter how cute Grace is when she pouts. What would it hurt? Pearl asked last night as we washed the dishes. It's not like you play with her anymore. I don't care. I wiped a plate and put it in the drainer, a little too hard. Mama and Pop can afford to buy one for her, so why should I give up something that's mine? Pearl sighed and then turned it into a laugh. If I still had all the things I was asked to give you, I'd need a bigger bedroom. She held a glass up to the window and gave it back to me. There's lipstick on that one. Mama would kill me if she saw that. I attacked the faint mark, Aunt Claire's color by the look of it, with the dish rag. And we were poor then. We're not rich now. And who knows what will happen with the war? Mama's business has already fallen off because so many parties were called off. I can't imagine many women will be ordering fancy dresses if there's no one around to dance with. I hadn't thought of that. Papa's a doctor, but he's not the kind who's rolling in cash, since he mostly works at the clinic my aunt started years ago. Mama brings in good money with her dressmaking, but Pearl's right, we can't count on that, at least not right now. Everything is so unsettled. I hate it. I hate that everyone is upset and sad and things are being canceled left and right. My dance recital was 6 days after Pearl Harbor, and although it went forward, more than half the seats were empty. What's the point of performing for almost no audience? I'm still not giving up Flora. She was a gift from Aunt Claire after she came home for Granny's funeral. There was this feeling of recognition when I saw my aunt, though we'd never met before. Not only was she blonde like me and so pretty, but she smelled like flowers in the middle of winter. She had the softest hands, and her clothes were like nothing I'd ever seen. I wanted to be her. It's your call, Pearl said, philosophical, but don't be surprised if Mama makes the same suggestion. I snapped the towel at her so she skipped out of the way and said, I can't wait until I'm famous and no one will try to convince me to give up anything that's mine. Which was easy to say when not faced with Grace's brown eyes and quivering lip. Let's go get that chocolate, I say roughly, tweaking her pigtail. Come on, Slowpoke. It's almost supper time when I hand the dress off to Hannah for its final pressing. That's it, I tell her, until the new year. We deserve a rest, she observes. It's been a busy year. But not a very busy December. Business fell off sharply after the attack. No one was thinking about parties, and some of my regular customers didn't even bother to call and cancel, leaving me waiting for commissions that never came. Hannah nods. War changes everything. She should know. She'd fled Germany in 1935 to live with her uncle, my landlord, and take up employment as my assistant. In the years we've worked together, she's become very capable. I keep expecting her to get married and leave, but she seems content as she is, taking care of her aunt in the mornings and working with me in the afternoons and the occasional Sabbath when she can sneak away from the house. Do you think it will help, America getting into the war? I sometimes feel like she knows more than all the men, having suffered through so much before reaching Philadelphia. It will, I'm sure of it. Her pale face brightens. Europe has been fighting already for more than 2 years. They're tired. American boys are just what they need to defeat Herr Hitler. There's a dance tonight at the parish hall. I arranged for Dan and Tommy to go with us, since I haven't had a boyfriend in months and Peggy claims she's too busy to date. While Tommy loves to dance, Dan isn't the happiest of men on a dance floor. He'll do it, so long as I don't ask too often, and I think he actually likes being out with Tommy in a social setting, even if they can't dance together. Peggy comes into our shared bedroom from the bath, wrapped in a cherry red robe, her hair up in a scarf. Did you get Tuesday off, I ask? No such luck. She loosens the robe, and I turn my back while she puts on her underwear. They actually asked me to work Christmas Eve. But you're supposed to spend Christmas with your family. She removes the scarf, and lustrous black curls fall to her shoulders. Even after all these years, I feel a stab of envy, looking at Peggy's hair. And I will be, she says firmly. Once the men start going off to war, there'll be a lot more jobs available. I told them if they wanted me to stay, I had to be done by 2 so I can catch the late afternoon train. Good for you. My friend is often too kind to stand up for herself, but her father and brothers live in Delaware, and she doesn't get to see them very often. After being threatened with missing Christmas with them, I'm surprised she didn't quit on the spot. Thelma pops her head in the door. The boys are downstairs. Don't rush, they know they're early. Mama's giving them coffee. We shouldn't be long, right, Peg? I ease up the temperamental side zipper on my dancing dress. She shakes her head and squints at the mirror as she pencils her brows. That's the benefit of having only one nice dress. I don't waste time staring at my wardrobe wondering what to wear. Instead of going back downstairs, Thelma settles on the bed, crossing her legs and propping her elbows on her knees. I don't know why I can't come along. I could dance you all under the table, and it's not like you're out with boyfriends or anything. It's an old argument. You can't go because I wasn't allowed to go to dances at your age. Thelma gets away with enough things that I would have never been permitted, but Mama hasn't let up on this particular rule. That's you. She huffs and unfolds herself. Peggy, you look so pretty. My friend's naturally pink cheeks flush even brighter. You should talk, little Miss Movie Star. It's unfair that both my friend and my sister are so lovely. Unkindly, it makes me miss Hazel, the third member of our group. She doesn't live close by, and anyway, her string of boyfriends take her to nicer places than parish dances. It's a mystery to me. Hazel's looks are only average, yet somehow she has a new boyfriend every week. If having a boyfriend were more important, I would study how she does it. But I'm just as happy to dance with Tommy and go home at the end of the night with no wrestling on the front mat. The hall is crowded when we arrive, and there's a band playing on the small stage. The music seeps into me as we deposit our coats on a table near the door. Ready? Tommy grins at me. For a moment, I'm the teenage girl who thought I would grow up to marry him. Then I remember that what we have is better and grin back. You bet. He's a marvelous dancer, swinging me into a quick triple step right off the bat, then pulling me close and spinning me out into an underarm turn. I laugh with joy. Dan takes to the floor with Peggy for a more staid version of what we're doing. I've been trying to teach him to dance since we were kids. Where he's never progressed much, I sometimes feel like I could forget to stop. I'm having so much fun. After an hour, the band takes a break and we fall into our chairs, breathless. Dan goes off to get drinks while Tommy mops his face with a large handkerchief. This is good, he says. Too much work lately, and now Christmas. And soon you'll be gone. The words slip out. I'd promised myself I wouldn't spoil our evening by talking about the war. And soon I'll be gone. His face goes solemn. Pearl, you get Dan to move back home after I leave. Will he want to? I lean to one side as Peggy excuses herself. He's used to his independence. Tommy puts his hand over mine briefly. I want him with you all, he says. He's alone all day at work. He shouldn't be alone at home, too. Right. I think my brother would be perfectly happy alone, but I understand Tommy's concern. I'll work on him. You do that. His smile is bright enough to light all of Philadelphia. I don't want him alone if something happens to me. Nothing is going to happen to you. They wouldn't notify Dan. The telegram would be delivered to Mrs. Marinelli, and she would be the one to let him know. Better that he's with us, so Mama will be there. You don't know that. People die in wars. I won't stay alive just because I love your brother. Thirsty? Dan sits down, gripping 4 frosty cold bottles of Coke by their necks. Did I interrupt something? I shift over so he can sit next to Tommy. I was just telling Tom that I think it would be good if you moved home after Christmas. He glances between us. Why? Mama will need your help with George, for one thing. I shrug, and who knows, you might even enjoy our company. Occasionally. After a while, he twists the cap off the bottles and hands them around. Maybe every other Tuesday. And Fridays, I add, and maybe the occasional Sunday? Don't push your luck. He tips back the bottle, his throat working. I'm going to grab a smoke outside, he says. You coming, Tom? Sure. He pushes his chair back and follows Dan out, giving my shoulder a comforting squeeze as he passes. Peggy immediately slides into an empty seat. Is everything okay? I wanted to give you some time alone. Why? He's not going to ask me to run away with him. I've never been quite sure how much Peggy understands about their relationship. She lives with us, but she keeps her own counsel. Her brows lift. I think Dan would have a problem if he did. That answers that question. He suggested Dan move home after he leaves. Your mother would like that. Peggy's youth was unsettled. She had to raise her younger brothers when her father went away to work. When her relatives volunteered to take in the boys, she fit into our family like she'd always been one of us. She misses him. She's always had a soft spot for him. He's her first child, and the sun shines a little brighter on Dan than the rest of us. And it would be good for George. Pearl asks us in for cake and coffee, but we beg off. It's after 11, and I want to catch the trolley before it gets too late. As we walk toward 12th Street, Tom bumps me with his shoulder. That was dumb, you know. I know. We'd gone out to smoke, but ended up in a narrow alley off Locust Street in the darkness behind the hall. It was less than a minute before we heard voices and sprang apart. My heart was still racing when we went back in, and I was afraid to look at Pearl. She can read me even more than Ma. There's no one at the corner. Whether we've just missed the streetcar or it's a quiet night, I can't tell. I take a breath and settle in to wait, but Tom has other ideas. I'm not ready to go home. You should have said something. Ma would have been happy to feed us. I'm thirsty, he says, cutting me a sideways glance. That Coke wasn't enough. We've got beer at home. There are 2 bottles of Schlitz chilling in the crate nailed outside our back window. But I don't want to go home yet. A smile flickers over his lips. Oh, I understand him now. There's a bar less than 2 blocks from my mother's very upright home, where men like us are not only accepted, but welcomed. The first time I went there and saw men dancing with other men, unafraid to touch each other publicly, a tight knot in my chest relaxed that had been there ever since I realized I was different. We move as one, back the way we came, turning down a small alley street not much wider than the place where we'd nearly been caught kissing earlier. The bar is unmarked, only a dim bulb in a blue globe marking the entry. Tom stops on the top step and turns to look at me. I need this, Dan. Who knows when I'll be able to be myself again.